It is not the old who are always wise, nor the aged who understand what is right. Job 32, verse 9. Authority that cannot be questioned is tyranny dressed as virtue. Where questioning is forbidden, abuse is inevitable. Spiritual language is the easiest cloak for control. They do not fear Yah, they fear losing control. The first duty of conscience is to obey truth, not authority. If your conscience must submit to a man, you have replaced Yah. So what do cults do? They teach that questioning elders is dishonor. Silence is framed as righteousness. Disagreement equals rebellion. The result? Truth is subordinated to hierarchy. They shame discernment as pride. Discernment is commanded, and testing leaders is biblical. But cults reframe it as pride or an independent spirit or critical or rebellious at heart. The psychological effects: members begin distrusting their own conscience, and leaders become the moral compass. They invoke, "Touch not Yah's anointed," which should actually mean that God is protecting the prophets from violence, not immunity from accountability. But cults use it as any correction equals attacking Yah. Leaders become functionally infallible. If a group teaches respect means you may never question, correct, or challenge elders, that group has left biblical honor and entered into authoritarian control. Title of this video is going to be "When Truth Sounds Like Disrespect." Why the Bible doesn't silence the young or the youth. I'm 30 years old, and I've corrected people that are older than me. Not arrogantly, not carelessly, not because I think age makes someone wrong, but because sometimes truth demands speech. And every time I do, I'm told the same thing. That's dishonor. That's disrespect. So today, I want to ask a dangerous question. Is that actually biblical? The assumption: most religious systems operate on an unspoken rule. Older people correct the younger people, and never the other way around. But the Bible does not work that way. In fact, Scripture repeatedly records younger voices correcting older authority, not as rebellion, but as obedience. It is not the old who are wise, nor the aged who understand what is right. Job chapter 32, verse 9. That verse exists for a reason. So let's talk about the people that the Scripture refuses to silence. Samuel. He was a child, and he rebuked Eli. Elihu was the youngest amongst the so-called friends of Job, and even younger than Job. Yet he rebukes the friends, and he rebukes Job. And if you read in, I think it's chapter 32, he is angry at the fact that Job has sinned and refuses to admit it. And just so you don't think I'm making that up, I'll read it for you. But because Job was convinced of his own innocence, the three men gave up trying to answer him. It's not including Elihu, it's the three other Yahoos. But a bystander named Elihu could not control his anger any longer, because Job was justifying himself and blaming Yah. Elihu was the son of Barachel, a descendant of Buz, and belonged to the clan of Ram. Doesn't sound like he's an Israelite. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was also angry with Job's three friends because they could not find any way to answer Job, and this made it appear that God was in the wrong. Because Elihu was the youngest one of them, he had waited until everyone finished speaking, and when he saw that the three men could not answer Job, he was angry and began to speak and said, "I am young and you are old, so I was afraid to tell you what I think. I told myself that you ought to speak, that the older men should share your wisdom. But it is the Spirit of the Almighty Yah that comes to us and gives us wisdom. It is not growing old that makes us wise or helps us to know what is right. So I wanted want you to listen to me. Let me tell you what I think. I listened patiently while you were speaking and waited while you searched for wise phrases. I paid close attention and heard you fail. You have not disproved what Job has said. How can you claim you have discovered wisdom? Yah must answer Job, for you have failed. Job was speaking to you, not to me, but I would never answer the way that you did. Words have failed them, Job. They have no answer for you. Shall I go on waiting when they are silent? They stand with nothing more to say. I will give my own answer now, and I will tell you what I think. I can hardly wait to speak. I can't hold back the words. If I don't get a chance to speak, I will burst like a wineskin full of new wine. I can't stand it. I have to speak. I will not take sides in this debate. I am not going to flatter anyone. I don't know how to flatter, and God would quickly punish me if I did. I can relate to this man. I know what that feels like. And I definitely am not a flatterer. Other people in the word. Jeremiah, he was told by Yah, do not say that I am only a youth. He corrected older people. Kings. Daniel. David. Paul rebuked Peter. Stephen confronted the elders and stuff of his time and ended up getting stoned for it. Jesus started preaching when he was 30, and so between 30 and 33, he's going, and who's he rebuking? The elders, the leaders of the people who are older than him. These aren't accidents, okay? Jesus and quote-unquote disrespect. If Jesus spoke today the way he spoke then, he would be labeled as disrespectful. Listen to what he told to the old people, the Pharisees. You blind guides, right? Whitewashed tombs. Shut up the kingdom in people's faces. You're the father. You are of your father, the devil. Okay, these people are not teenagers or young people. They were the elders. And yet Jesus is never accused by Scripture of dishonor. Better is open rebuke than secret love. How respect becomes a weapon. Here's the shift that happens. Biblical honor means listening, weighing, and responding to truth. But unhealthy systems redefine honor as silence. They say questioning is pride, correction is rebellion, and disagreement is dishonor. Authority that cannot be questioned is tyranny dressed as virtue. And suddenly age becomes immunity. What the Bible actually teaches. Yes, Scripture expects older people to mentor the younger ones. But it also refuses to let age become a shield against correction. That's why the younger to older corrections are few, but they are loud. They exist to limit abuse. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the Bible agrees. To those who call it disrespect, if correction equals dishonor, then Nathan dishonored David, Elijah dishonored Ahab, Paul dishonored Peter, and Jesus dishonored everyone. Or maybe we've misunderstood what honor actually is. Respect that forbids truth is not respect at all. I am not an anti-elder. I am not anti-tradition, and I'm not pro-conflict. Okay, I don't despise authority and speak evil of dignities, as some of you suppose. And if being faithful to the truth at 30 is called disrespect, then I stand with the prophets, not the comfort of silence. The truth is older than any elder, and my conscience belongs to Yah, and silence has never been the measure of honor. I must obey Yah rather than men. Okay? I bring all that out because I've heard before that, these old people, they're not going to hear you if you're young. I know. And it's because most of them are prideful. You look at America, most of the problems that are with America are the result of the older generation. It's not my generation that passed laws that made it legal for homosexuals to get married. It's not my generation that has made laws where people can pretend to be a cat and have to have a litter box in their classroom in order for them to identify and be politically correct. That's not my generation. That's the older generation. You look at how America is, or even the world. It's not my generation's fault. It's the older generation's fault, because they either did wicked shit or they didn't say anything or stand up for the wicked stuff that was going on. So when you look around and you see all this stuff with the younger generation is this way, well, who raised them? Okay, because they're a reflection of you. So the younger generation is a reflector of the old generation. And why did Israel have all the problems that they did? Wicked leadership, who refused to hear the Most High when he would bring somebody to correct them. I want to read out of Matthew chapter 23. If Jesus spoke these words today, you guys would call him disrespectful to the leaders. So Jesus spoke to the crowds and to the disciples. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees are authorized interpreters of Moses' law. So you must obey and follow everything that they tell you to do. But do not, however, imitate their actions, because they do not practice what they preach. Sell all and give to the poor. But then the rich people of some of these communities that I've seen, they don't sell all and they don't give all to the poor. I've known people who have millions of dollars worth of stocks. Did they sell all and give to the poor? No. And that's the reason why they don't. They remain imperfect. They tie onto people's backs loads that are heavy and hard to carry, yet they aren't willing to even lift a finger to help them carry those loads. I've seen that. I've seen communities where the elder is like, I am not living a lavish lifestyle using the saints. I could have had this lifestyle without the saints. I had it before. You did. You were rich and you used to pay people to come and mow your lawn, to do when it snows, to shovel off the driveway, to shovel off your porches and to get rid of the snow. You had people that you would pay to clean your house or pay to cook for you. And then you come into the truth and you get saints to come in and you don't pay those people. Now you have them doing it for free, but you still get to live the same lifestyle that you've had before. That's why I keep making these videos, because the people who are touting this pyramid scheme are the ones who have the greatest benefits in these systems. The people who are being oppressed or at the bottom, they are not the ones who get the benefits like these leaders do. When you have somebody like Kabir, his life is completely better following straightway than it was before. He has way more benefits than he has ever had before. And when I tell you that the leaders are supposed to be the ones that serve the people, when you see your people out there mowing the lawn, but you never do it. Your people are out there shoveling the lawn or shoveling the driveway, you never do it. Your people are out there cooking for you, you never do it. They're out there cleaning your house, you never do it. They're setting up your tent and helping you set up your tent during the feast, but you never help them set up their tent. Does that sound like somebody who is doing the ministering, or does that sound like somebody who's being ministered unto? Does that sound like somebody who is being a servant to others, or does that sound like he has servants who are serving him? Okay? That's why I said they put on these burdens that are heavy to carry, and they don't even lift a finger themselves to help carry the load. And they'll blame you if you say anything about it, that you're being contentious, you're complaining, you're murmuring, whatever. They do everything so that people will see them. Look at the straps with scripture verses on them, which they wear on their foreheads and arms, and notice how large they are. Notice also how long are their tassels on their cloaks. Now, I won't say that, but look at how expensive these garments are that they be wearing. $200, $300, $400, $500 garments. Just decorating the outer covering. They love the best places at the feasts and the reserved seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted with respect in the markets and to have people call them teacher. You must not be called teacher, because you are equal and have only one teacher. You are all equal and have only one teacher. You are all equal and have only one teacher. That's Jesus's words. Don't get mad at me if I quote what he said. If you're not following this, you're anti-Messiah, because Messiah said one thing and you're preaching another. This is what Jesus said. So why should I refer to you as teacher so-and-so? Didn't Jesus said, you must not be called teacher? I wonder how they twist that in their minds. If I was an ordained teacher, which I'm glad I'm not, I don't think I would allow people to call me that. I think I would tell them to call me Jordan. That's my name. You got Teacher Greg, Teacher Shane, Teacher this, Teacher that. I ain't calling you teacher because Jesus told me not to. You must not call anyone here on earth Father because you have only the one Father in heaven. Wow. Nor should you be called leader because your one and only leader is the Messiah. How do you argue with that? That's what Jesus said. So when I say, you're not my leader, that's Antichrist. No, it ain't. It's right there. It's not. The greatest one among you must be your servant. Whoever makes himself great will be humbled. We're about to see that. And whoever humbles himself will be made great. I want to talk about this. You know what the difference is between humility and pride? I've summarized it in this, and I think it's the best way to put it that I've heard so far. Humble people will afflict themselves for the benefits of others. Prideful people want others to be afflicted for the benefit of themselves. So look at these organizations closely. Look at these people closely. Are they afflicting themselves for the benefit of other people? Or are other people afflicting themselves for the benefit of those people? It's very easy to see. How terrible for you. Other translation says, woe unto you. Teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. If you called Pastor Dowell that today, you'd be labeled as contentious. You'd be labeled as evil. But Jesus would have said the exact same thing. You lock the doors of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, but you yourselves don't go in, nor do you allow in those who are trying to enter. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You sail the sea and cross whole countries to win one convert. You fly all the way over there to Africa to enslave people with a covenant doctrine in order so that way you can have somebody twice as deserving of going to hell as you yourselves are. That's me modernizing the translation. Woe unto you, blind guides. You teach if someone swears by the temple, he isn't bound by its vow, but if he swears by the gold in the temple, he's bound. Blind fools. Can you imagine calling somebody that today? How dare you speak that way? You're only 33 years old. How dare you talk to the leadership that way? Which is more important, the gold or the temple which makes the gold holy? You also teach if someone swears by the altar, he isn't bound by his vow, but if he swears by the gift on the altar, he is bound. How blind you are. Which is more important, the gift on the altar, the gift or the altar which makes the gift holy? So then when a person swears by the altar, he is swearing by it and by all the gifts on it. And when he swears by the temple, he is swearing by it and by Yah who lives there. And when someone swears by heaven, he is swearing by Yah's throne and by him who sits on it. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give God 1/10 even of the seasoning herbs, such as mint, dill, and cumin, but you neglect to obey the really important teachings of the law, such as justice, mercy, and honesty. These you should practice without neglecting others. Yeah, you'll preach all day long about giving all, give me your money, tithes and offerings. But when it comes to you showing righteous justice, you don't even have hearings. You just get rid of people. Where's the mercy? Okay? Where's the honesty? Blind guides. You strain at a fly out of your drink, but you swallow a camel. How terrible for you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You clean the outside of the cup and the plate, while the inside is full of what you have gotten by violence and selfishness. Blind Pharisees, clean what is inside the cup first, and then the outside will be clean too. How terrible for you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You are like whitewashed tombs, which look fine on the outside, but are full of bones and decaying corpses on the inside. In the same way, on the outside, you appear good to everybody, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and sins. How terrible for you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You make fine tombs for the prophets and decorate the monuments of those who lived good lives. And you claim that if you had lived during those times of your ancestors, you would have not done what they did and killed the prophets. So you actually admit that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Go. Go then and finish up what your ancestors started. You snakes and children of snakes, how do you expect to escape from being condemned to hell. And so I will tell you that I will send your prophets and wise men and teachers, and you will kill some of them, crucify others, and whip others in the synagogues and chase them from town to town. As a result, the punishment for the murder of all innocent people will fall on you, from the murder of innocent Abel to the murder of Zechariah son of Barachiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. I tell you indeed that punishment for all these murders will fall on the people of this day. So when you see what happened to Israel, or quote-unquote black people of today, they are one of the few nations who killed every single one of their prophets that was sent by the Most High. That's what black people are known for. That's the reason why they had everything hand down to you. You know who killed Jesus? Black people killed Jesus. The problem with these people, as soon as anybody brings any form of correction or truth, there's always a wiggle way room. You're not old enough. You don't have an ordination. You don't have a title. You don't have these things. So how dare you talk to me? Then they kill you. It's sad to see that the same things of old are still going on today. Black on black crime. Essentially, that's what it is. And now it's turned to the point where you even have strangers, like people like myself or Gentiles, coming into the faith, and they get treated just like the Israel people of old. You know, I've heard people talk about, especially Kabir, white people this and white people that, white people this. And I'm like, name one thing that white people have done that black people have not done. And when I say black people, I mean Israel, Israelites, people of the book. Who killed David? Or not David. Who killed, what's his name? Who killed the prophets? Who killed, name a prophet. Who killed them? Their own people killed them. Why? Because they were speaking the truth. So, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. It's kind of a follow-up video from my last video, because they keep, you know, people keep talking about, you know, you got people out here preaching that an elder can, or a young person can correct an elder. Yes, they can, and I've proved it to you biblically. Pretty much, you look at a list. Look at a list of all the prophets, and you tell me which one of them was actually older than the people that they corrected. Show me that. Wicked-ass leadership leads their people into sin. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in authority, the people mourn. Bless y'all. Shalom, shalom.